Oh my goodness. I feel like I start every show with oh my goodness because I'm so surprised and so pleased as punch to be here every single weekday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. Hello, every beautiful body out there. My name is Blair G. Hervey. I am the founder and CEO of The Corporate Strategist. I'm joined by my colorful co-host, my bestie, soul friend of 20 plus years, self-proclaimed diversity geek, and I always forget to mention also independent consultant of The Corporate Strategist. Hello, D'Angelo Crane.
Well, hello, peanut butter to my jelly. How are you doing today, bestie? I am always excited to be on the Black Diva Collective stage to share a little bit of light, love, and laughter with the people. And the other thing you forgot to add is Diva speaker. So if anyone would like to book me, I am available to be booked this month. If you need a LGBTQ speaker, if you need a Juneteenth speaker, if you just need someone to come in this month or any month, I am available. So is Blair. So anyone you can book at the Corporate Strategist. Okay, we are here in these streets to help you all. All right, now Blair, you got a little orange going on today. You got a little orange glow. I like this.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glowing from the outside, because the inside is like, man. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a moment. I just want to extend, of course, a big welcome to our guest, Brittany Williams. Is it Leverett?
Leverett, yes.
Leverett. We are so excited. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Leverett. Yeah, you're good. I'm excited to be here, Blair and D'Angelo.
Excellent. Well, welcome everyone to the Black Diva Collective Live. Yes, I'm giving you a little sun to radiate towards your direction, D'Angelo, just to get you started for our very, very sunny segment and beginning of the show.
You love calling it sunny segment, and it can be, and that's what it's about. And if it's not sunny, that's okay too, because the art of the check-in is all about building deeper relationships, showing vulnerability and empathy for your employees. And the way to do that, as we were about to exhibit here on the Black Diva Collective, it is just really about asking those deeper questions than you normally do. Let's go below the surface. And so how we do that is we ask, how's your heart, how's your mind, how's your soul, Brittany, today?
Whew, lots of great questions there. So my heart is feeling all the warm and fuzzies because even though things went wrong at my store today, I'm a business owner in a lot of different areas, but things went wrong there. But my team showed up. They were there for me, and that is a big win for me. You don't always feel that, and I feel like it's really a testament to my leaders in the store and then my energy. So my heart is good. My mind was a little crazy today. So, I'm glad I'm slowing down a little bit, having this great session with you all. And my soul, I always feel just a positive, excited energy, especially when I'm around great, exciting people like yourselves, but also just, this life of entrepreneurship, touching the lives of other people of color as well. So I would say, I'm doing pretty good today. Was a little frazzled earlier, but here we are together.
Oh, I love that. I love that you're smiling through it and you're understanding the end goal. I think that's always the thing is on those hard days, if we think about our purpose and what the end goal is, that gets us through, right? And brings us to be present in the moment. So thank you for being here, present in the moment, even though things were kind of chaotic earlier today for you. All right, Blair, how's your mind? How's your soul? How's your heart doing today? And how's this great hair? You got new hair and it's beautiful. I love it.
Thank you. Mind is scatterbrained all over the place. Heart is a little heavy as well, just kind of processing some news and some emotions. And my soul, you know what? I feel like I would make it to heaven. So I'm all right today. That could change on any given day, depending on how we acted up. But overall, I would say this life is 10 out of 10, would recommend. I'd be all right. I'm going to be all right. D'Angelo, how's your heart? How's your soul? How's my son's wardrobe on your back today?
This is why you don't tell people nothing. So let me tell y'all something. In Blair's household, they get rid of clothes very easily. They're like, oh, this is from last season. Let's get rid of it. We're not going to keep it. And I'm like, look, I have clothes from 42 seasons ago, honey. Okay. I have clothes probably at least 20 years ago. I'm sure I have a shirt or two when I was in high school. But the point is that, so I was at her house one day and she was like, oh, we're giving this away to Goodwill. I was like, well, I'm the good and do goodwill to me. Okay. And so I took it out of Trent's closet. Sure did. See, she just put me on blast, but I'm not ashamed. If anyone else has any clothes you want to donate to me, or if you would like to buy from our Mercari store, every day you got to plug yourself. Okay. But I'm good. All things are well. in my world today. And I'm glad that I can fit his sweater, okay? Because a couple months ago, I was a little thick, and I could not get into a small. But today, I'm trimming on down. Thank God for the trim. All right.
I love it. Well, we are all about sustainable fashion, so that is perfectly fine. And then recycling, looks and things of that nature. Once upon a time, we didn't do that. But I would encourage you to get rid of a few things because you're bordering clothing hoarder. But nonetheless, I'm so excited to get to this conversation.
I'm leaving. Goodbye. Good day. Let me pack my suitcase. Where are we going to? Good day.
It's all about accountability and love because, of course, we got to go from one level to the next. That's what we're talking about today. And we're going to welcome Brittany actually to start that valuable conversation. Brittany is the CEO and founder of Legacy Consulting Group, LLC. Thank you again for being here. We usually love to hear from our guests and for them to tell us how they got into this work and what that one pivotal moment was that said, you know what, this is the work that I need to be doing. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have founded a couple of businesses now. So Legacy Consulting Group is the one my husband and I have together, and we actually own a store in the Melbourne, Florida airport. And then what I would love to chat about some more today about upskilling folks, especially folks of color, is Her Grind. So I'm a co-founder of Her Grind Ventures, and my co-founder Olivia Green and I really started this because we realized that women of color or people of color are getting no funding from VCs, from all of these huge funds that are out here. We're getting less than 1%. And we just decided, hey, that's not cool. We don't like that. What can we do about it? And that was back in 2018. And that so much has happened since then. So back in 2018, we started this. It was we were trying to figure things out in the beginning. But what we really realized is we really want to help entrepreneurs of color. How are we going to do this? And so 2020 came around, life happened then. And then, we've been regrouping over these last couple of years. And Olivia and I actually, we left our corporate jobs and actually moved to the tech space, which is where this upskill comes from. So moving to the tech space, look, I am 34 years old. I thought I was tech savvy until I started in tech. And I was overwhelmed by every tool that was out there, but I started realizing how beneficial those tools were and how little access people have to these things and how it could be life-changing. And so learning that was back when I started in tech, and I brought Olivia along for the journey. She joined the same company that I was at. She felt the same way. And I was like, girl, I got you. Put some time on my calendar. We'll talk about it. And that gave her a leg up as far as just getting her head in the game, moving faster than she would have, not knowing those tools. And so she and I just really started to realize there was this huge gap, not just in that tech space, but in general with entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs of color. So we said, look, we learned all these tools in these tech roles. We've both been through, I think I've been through 4 layoffs now, multiple in tech. Why aren't we helping people that also need this outside of tech, other entrepreneurs that could use project management boards like Asana or Monday.com or using Airtable, just these different things that if you don't know, right? Until somebody tells you or helps unlock that for you. So that's kind of where we started here. I do a little business coaching on the side. That we all wear a million hats. So that's a little bit about me and how I got here today.
Good. Well, I'm excited to hear more about this digital first approach, but I'm sure D'Angelo will walk us through that too.
Oh, well, this is such a great conversation today. So what you were taught 10 to 20 years ago is fast becoming obsolete. Upskill yourself and recreate the world. Nikki Verde, who is the author of the book, Disrupt Yourself to Be Disrupted, and also up and coming techie, if you look her up and all the great work that she's doing. So, about 65% of workers believe employer provided upskilling is very important when evaluating a new potential job. So where do I want to go work to next? Do they provide these tools to upskill me? And I always say also with that is, are they also following your trajectory after you've been upskilled? What happens after that, right, with the employee? And so I am so sorry, you all. I don't even know where this phone is coming from right now. Oh, my goodness. Okay, I'm going to put myself on pause really quickly, but today we're talking about Let Me Upskill You, and we're going to get right into it with Brittany. Brittany, can you talk a little bit about Upskill Labs and the work you all are doing to help upskill employees and also entrepreneurs around the work that around their organizations?
Yeah, absolutely, D'Angelo. So I see this kind of going in two different directions, right? I see us partnering with large corporations that a lot of people have these great DEI initiatives. And they're like, come on in, but best of luck when you get here, right? So we want to help bridge that gap and really teach people, again, tools like Salesforce, Asana, Airtable, so that they're not left behind, because maybe they're career switchers. And a lot of my time in tech, I spent working with tech boot camps, and I worked with a lot of career switchers, people who went from, hey, I was a waiter, or I was a hostess or a bartender, and then moving into a sales development role at a tech company. That's a huge gap, right? And we worked in the boot camps to help empower them, teach them these different things, but who's there after, right? And that was one of the roles that I filled. I was an alumni program manager for a couple of those different roles, and helping to keep them upskilled and help brush up those different things. I'd bring in mentors. I realized how important it was. And yes, the boot camps were great, but they're only for a period of time, right? So that continuation is going to be huge when it comes to these corporations who have these great initiatives to bring in these diverse groups. Great. Or how are you going to help them be successful versus putting them on a performance plan because they didn't, improve fast enough or didn't catch on fast enough? Where's the gap there? And that's one of the things that I would love to offer for these corporations, like, the big ones out there, like, and I'm talking to you, like Chase Bank, Bank of America, all of you guys, like, let's hang out, let's talk about this, because Upskill Labs, we are engineering this to be about an 8-week program. Each week is going to be focused on really helping people just from the beginning. Like, we're going back down to Slack and G Suite to start things off, right? Like, do you know how to use Google Sheets? Do you know how to use this? And some people will breeze past that part, right? But then they'll get to parts they're like, oh, this Salesforce thing, I've never seen this before. And having instructors, especially, I'm not limiting us to having instructors that only look like us. I want to bring the best of the best to the table to make sure that everybody is really getting what they need to be successful in those roles at those companies. And then the flip side of this is working with entrepreneurs. So like myself and Olivia, we've used those project management boards. I've used Gusto. I use all these different platforms that have saved me so much time, money, brain power, energy, everything has really helped me versus my friends and colleagues that are like, yeah, I'm using Excel. And I'm like, but like, do you have like a bookkeeper? Like, do you have like QuickBooks? Like, what are we doing here, right? So that's also another part of this as well. So kind of a two-pronged approach of let's take people who are taking that corporate route or going into those companies and help them. And then also helping those who are entrepreneurs, just trying to figure things out. And we know a lot of businesses fail, but can we help them not fail by using some of these tools to really help upskill them?
I love it. I love it. All I keep hearing in my head is, what's that song?
Let me upgrade.
Yeah. Upskill. Okay, but anyway, so let's talk about some of the skills that you needed to implement within yourself in order to establish several businesses. So we may be talking to our entrepreneurs out there, but we're also talking to any individual who needs to establish their brand. When I think about upskilling and collaborating, like you have a team, you found a co-founder. That's something I definitely have not done because I don't play well in the sandbox. So if you're speaking to someone like me who's been in corporate America, who has traversed this bridge from corporate America to the entrepreneurial space, what tools could you give to someone like me to say, hey, here's an opportunity for you to upskill in this area of networking and team building? What do you all have to offer?
That's a good one. So with that, I think I really live with, I first found all this out in Rachel Rogers' book, We Should All Be Millionaires, but I know it comes from The Big Leap, but looking at those different zones, right? We all want to operate in a zone of genius, and we need to get people who all operate in their zone of genius so we can have a nice company that flows well. Because guess what? You get to be a martyr who dies on your own sword if you don't ask for help. And that doesn't serve anything. That doesn't serve you. That doesn't serve your clients. And it puts strain on your family, your friends, all these different relationships. And that's one of the things that I've noticed that a lot of people have a hard time with, Blair, is it is sometimes hard to play in the sandbox, especially when it's your baby, right? But I think listing out those qualities of somebody who you really want to work with, maybe those areas that are like your zone of incompetence, maybe that's your zone of competence, maybe even excellence, but you should be spending less time on them, right? So like, for example, I know I have zero business doing social media. I think it's cool. I love to scroll, really bad at making graphics, right? Now, I could spend hours and hours trying to figure out Canva, going through tutorials, or I could find somebody who helps me really alleviate that pain and allow me to focus on my zone of genius. So that's how I've kind of crafted these different things. I actually have a whiteboard here and I just write all the things that I'm like, so you're not good at this, you're not good at this. So that's a lot of self-awareness, right? Taking the time to really reflect on like, hey, maybe this is not my piece. And that's something with Upskill, with entrepreneurs that we want to teach them as well. So we want them to know like, hey, it's okay to not be good at everything, because guess what? Nobody is. And we're kind of almost fools for thinking that. And so let's take a look at those areas, be reflective and self-aware. That's that emotional intelligence piece there that we'll work through with them so that they can build their teams. And that'll be later on with the upskilling. We want to focus on those tools, getting the foundation laid out for them, and then helping them take those next steps to create that cohesive team and, really work well with them, treat them well, give them direct feedback. I sometimes struggle with that. Sometimes I'm too much of the good cop and not as much of the bad cop as I need to be, because I just love to give everybody chances, but I am self-aware with that. And that's something that I work on with my coach and, my family and friends that are willing to put up with me talking and complaining about those things. So, yeah.
Well, I just want to throw this out there really quickly. I recorded something yesterday for social media that kind of says the opposite of what you just said. Please don't think it's like a sub, what do they call it? A sneak diss. It's just a different perspective. So I'll post it, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it later.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love it. And we all have different perspectives. I just know that this is how when I started this, actually all the businesses, I had a full-time job and I was doing the business too. So I just knew that there's no way that my family and friends will still like me afterwards if I don't get help or find ways to manage my time better or have people kind of help me. But I also have been burned, Blair, and I have also had, trusted people and gotten help. And I've learned, maybe it's hardened me a little bit, but still has that soft side. But now I'm just more of like a realist and setting my expectations on what it is like to bring those different team members. And I kind of wean them into it versus like, okay, here you go. Thank you. You told me you're great at this. So.
Thank you, Brittany.
You said a lot there. And so I want to go back to, because you said so much there. And I think about working with Blair and watching her wear so many different hats to build her business, right? So how does a entrepreneur who's just starting out and they do need 1,000 different things to start building their business, but they don't have the monetary funds to pay people to do that or to get people involved with it. How would you say they tackle that or get people excited about working with them when they don't have the funds to do that? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Very, very great question. So don't get me wrong. I literally wear all the hats. Like today I was a warehouse personnel unloading boxes and I was driving trucks and doing all sorts of things. But now I'm here talking to you as a CEO, right? So I know that I still have to. So one thing is you still have to know how to do all of the things, right? Because there is somebody that's going to quit on you all of a sudden and you have to know how to jump in. You cannot take your hands off the wheel completely. I made that mistake a couple of times when I was just, I'm too busy with the other jobs. And that is where the bus just kept going. And I'm like, but wait, I don't understand why this happened. And then I reflect back and I'm like, it's because I was a little too hands off. So when it comes to figuring out what's next, I think one thing that we as entrepreneurs do is we have so many great ideas that we're trying to do too many things at once. And we don't just start with the simple stuff and slowly growing from there. It's okay, hey, I want to have a business. You're already looking at places to rent, but you have no idea what you're doing before that. I'm like, we have to start this in a methodical way and have a timeline. And that's a lot of what I talk about in my business coaching. I'm like, okay, this is great, but where do we need to start first, right? And really kind of backtrack, like this is the big goal. What are the major steps I need to take behind this? And you have to stay organized too. Like what I personally do is I keep a running tab of different areas in my life. And I have bullet points of all the things that need to be done for each of them. And I try to add anything that bypasses the step that's on there if I haven't already completed that, because that just causes me to have anxiety, me to be stressed out, like, oh my gosh, I haven't done this yet. And I'm like, but I can't do this unless I do A. I can't jump to B. And that's what I think a lot of people, they just get burned out by trying to do all of the things. For example, I had one client who was trying to be in multiple markets. And I said, why don't we just focus on one and get really good at it? And once she pivoted and focused on that one, blowing up, doing a great job, just kept her focus on that. And that's something that I do think that we run a lot of different legs of our business or just multiple businesses at that. And we have to really slow down and look at what is the immediate focus and then plan after that to reach that end goal. So as far as like trying to find help, a couple of tools I'm sure you know about. Fiverr and Upwork are my best friends. I maybe use people for short term. I have found great help on there that I've actually taken off of those sites. Sorry to them, but they work, we're contracted together. We work together really well. And that's helped take a lot of things off of my plate. And that has helped me not pay the thousands and thousands of dollars that, an employee would be asking for if they were part of my business. Now, they do cost money, but so it's a catch-22. A lot of the things to take things off of your plate are going to cost money. And I have to really think about like, what is something that I'm willing to sacrifice to get that help in the short term to help propel me long term. Right. And that's something that I think about as well. So it really is that timeline, piecing things together and making sure that we don't run before we walk. And I think I personally think that's a lot of the problem with a lot of entrepreneurs trying to do too much too fast.
You're right. And so the yes and to that is, knowing what to start with. And sometimes, like you said, you don't know until you run, right? And you actually trip and then you have to crawl and then you have to, pick yourself back up again. So it's all a part of that process. But I love that you shared that. So in summary, it sounds like you need to determine what those foundational things are. But just a quick question before my real question, Dee. But how do you determine what those things are?
So let's work with an example, right? So I know somebody who wants to start a vending machine business, right? This is just random, right? I don't really know anybody that wants to do this. So they want to start a vending machine business and they're already looking at the different machines they need. They don't even know where they're putting this, if there's a need for it or any of these things. And so I'm like, okay, it's great that you want to do this. However, if you go ahead and just try to start talking to people and putting vending machines up, what is the result? And that's the question you have to ask yourself. Like, well, they'll tell me like, well, I don't know where to put it. And I'm like, okay, so that's one thing we want to start with, right? So we want to start with like asking ourselves those questions of like, how do we get, like, is this even a need, right? And so it's backtracking and saying, hey, is there a need for this vending machine? Okay, but where? So this person originally, maybe they want to be in schools, right? And they want to put, I don't know, sparkling water in schools. I don't know, guys, do you think that sparkling water is going to sell with like, elementary school kids as much as maybe in a hospital or in another location, right? So it's asking those questions and trying to figure out, like, we get so excited about these ideas that we don't think of like the steps and the research and the needs behind it to actually get to that end result. And that's the thing is like, we don't ask all of the questions. And I think personally, you have to bounce these ideas off people. We all sit in our own heads. I know both of you probably go to each other and say like, what do you think of this idea, right? And so you need to find that person. I personally have a coach for that reason to really challenge me and say like, okay, that's cool that you want to do this. What are the steps it's going to take to get there? And that might be the aha moment of like, maybe this isn't as feasible as I thought it would be. Or maybe that's going to have you pivot and say, okay, maybe it's not the vending machines in the schools, but maybe it's vending machines in bathrooms at the club instead of having a bathroom attendant, right? Maybe it's something like that, right? And figuring out what that is and that having somebody pull you out of your head and your space and just saying like, okay, that's great. Like you said, Blair, yes. And how are you going to get there? Is there a need? I think that having that sounding board, and my husband does that for me sometimes. And I also have Olivia, who's a co-founder that helps with that too. And that's what I would say is that it's hard, but you really have to find that group that you can surround yourself with. And maybe it's another group of entrepreneurs. Maybe it's a coach for you. I think that's an exploratory path that everybody kind of figures out for themselves. But I always recommend a coach if you can afford it and get it.
Market research, competitive intelligence, coaching, and it sounds like a trustworthy group of like minds. Got it.
Absolutely.
Those are good. Thank you. You can go ahead, D'Angela.
No, like I said, this conversation it's grown its own legs, as it often does when we're having these kind of conversations. So just a little bit to kind of talk a little bit about what we have been talking about what we said we are going to talking about what we're talking about. So we saw that 42% of companies stepped up their upskilling or reskilling efforts after the coronavirus outbreak. So a lot of companies were focused on how do we continue to develop our employees. Why do you think that is that people start to have a different focus, and they wasn't as focused on this before coronavirus when you think about upskilling your employees?
I think that I personally have seen that a lot in the tech space. Really try. I mean, and I think because a lot of us are working from home, you don't have the opportunity to tap somebody on the shoulder and say, "Hey, D'Angela, do you know how to fix? Can you help me with this?" Right? And so empowering people and having them have a learning and development stipend, have office hours with people who are, are subject matter experts in those things. I think people are realizing like we lose people and it's very expensive when you lose people to have to rehire them. Why not invest in something like this? Now, are they investing the right way? Are they providing things that are fair and equitable to everybody that it's trying to get into it, right? Are we just going to the advanced level versus starting at the beginner level and allowing people to have those opportunities to jump in? So I think that people are recognizing the need. I don't know if it's being done properly, or it could be just, hey, here's a learning and development stipend, best of luck, like go learn something, here's $7,000. And if I've never had that before, because I'm a career switcher that was previously maybe a bartender, I'm just like, oh, okay, cool, $7,000. I have no idea what I would use this for, right? And giving them the opportunity. And so is there a resource library for where people can actually take courses or engage with people to use those stipends? So I think it's out there. I don't know if it's nurtured is not enough. Since coronavirus, I think people are trying, but there's definitely gaps where, especially people of color being left behind, and those career switchers, which I think career switchers are there's a lot of us now. There's a lot of us that have moved from those corporate roles and, non-corporate roles into corporate roles and vice versa. So,
yeah, I love that. Yeah, the Howard Business Review article said one of the things that when they're thinking about the top 3 things to do when you're building out an upskill program is to provide a roadmap. So we're going to give you these tools, but where does it go to, and what are the right tools to get tapped into if you want to grow, or where do you want to grow into your career? So you hit the hammer around the nail.
Yeah. I would definitely say, in this vein of speaking about entrepreneurs, because you started the conversation talking about Black women, and Black women being one of the largest group of entrepreneurs and growing exponentially in the United States, but also one of the most underfunded groups. So I most recently, in February, I pitched in a competition and lost, which is okay, but all men won that competition. So we didn't necessarily get feedback during that competition. And then I have one coming up this weekend. So in your experience, what would you say are the top 3 skills? I mean, just as a generalization, the top 3 skills that Black women entrepreneurs are missing when it comes to getting this VC that we'd love to get?
Let me think if I want to answer this. Honestly, it's getting to know these people. It's getting in rooms where you sometimes are maybe the only person that looks like you, and it's uncomfortable. And that's the way we're going to break through, because Blair, let's say that you break in, you get the funding, you hit it big, you can become a VC. Now you're in those rooms. You already know those people. You know what you're looking for. You know that you're looking to see people like yourself and say, hey, let me take you on this journey. So unfortunately is knocking down those doors. And there's a lot of us that have to be pioneers and break down those doors and like glass ceilings, right? And become those VCs. So I wouldn't say, so networking and getting in the right rooms, I definitely think is one thing. So The other thing is having a strong pitch. That's and being charismatic, being able to hit the nail on the head, and having somebody really take a look at the pitch deck and make sure that it's ready to go out there and ready to kind of deal with those difficult questions that you're going to get that the guy next to you isn't going to get. And that's something that I think a lot of people forget about, is that you need to be an extreme devil's advocate to your own pitch deck. And oftentimes we can't do that. So I think having somebody else's eyes on it, or somebody that has done this before that you can network with. I mean, LinkedIn is a phenomenal platform to allow you to be able to, like, hey, somebody looks like me, they're a VC. Maybe they're not going to respond to your request, but maybe they will, and they'll give you 15 minutes to give you some feedback on that deck. So I think the networking and getting into those rooms, the pitch deck, and then the last one is, honestly, those are probably like the big two. The networking and getting the right rooms would probably be the biggest one, because that's the hard part. And I'm just being totally real with that one. I mean, there's just not a lot of us in the space, and it's time for that to change.
It's helpful. And I'm sure that those are skills that can be transferred into the workplace as well, if we think about it. Thank you for those nuggets. I don't know why I just keep this alarm on, but thank you again, Brittany. We appreciate those nuggets, all the information you shared and your lived experience as well. D'Angelo, you have a shout out for us today before we head out?
I do. Today's shout out is to rock star Tamika Green. She is a global HR professional and career coach who is using her platform to help others. She has a YouTube channel, website, and HR certification study guides called Hey HR. And the reason why I say hey, it is HEYYYHR. So if you're looking for it, it's 3 Ys. So please check out the great work that Tamika Green is doing at her site. Hey HR. I really like saying that, HR. So check that out. So that is my shout out of the day.
I love it. That's a very creative business name. Well, thank you all. Make sure you all look out for Brittany if you need some coaching as well, some business coaching, it sounds like. And I would love to get with you after the call too, just to chat about VC, as well as maybe you can review my next pitch deck. Ooh, I don't know why I said it like that, pitch deck. But anywho, thank you all for joining us every single day, every weekday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for your daily dose of D&B with DMB on the Black DEIBA Collective. Y'all have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Thank you. Bye now.